Let's see who we got on. No one yet. Okay. All right. Should get everybody else here momentarily. And we're going to be doing a quiz. It's going to be a mix of pretty much all of the math standards that I could find so that we can see how to pace out the rest of our time here. I want to do one of these each week. And it also includes a lot of what we've covered so far compound inequalities. Um, it includes equations, solving for the variable, fractions, decimals, word problems. So algebraic expressions and word problems. So once we start working on this will give me a better idea of like how to move forward. Let's see. And 80% of the people read the message. So everybody should start coming over. All right. Thank you for joining us, Mariana. So if you're on here already, you might get an email from me because I'm also going to send out another email now so that we can have the people that preferred that join us. 4. Okay, we should have at least 10. 4 people on. Okay. Still only got 4. All right. Let's start reaching out to some more people. The quiz is going to be so that since you guys are on here, 37 questions long. Um, I did also send out a formula sheet along with it. I tried to find the exact formula sheet you would get for the high set. All right. There we go. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I know that managing the formula sheet and the test might seem a little weird, but again, we are focused on passing. So if it does feel weird, let me know why. So we also talked about the fact that you have an hour and a half for 50 questions. There's no time limit on the quiz I'm about to give you. Well, there's 15 minutes per question, but no problem should take you 15 minutes. So that's something else I want you to look at, right? So you have about 37 questions. So again, I would really try to keep the word problems to maybe 3 minutes. And when they're asking you to just perform simple computation, like here's an algebraic expression, solve for the variable, try to keep those to about a minute, so that the problems are asking you to read a graph or word problems, you can take those extra 2 to 3 minutes. So this will be your chance to do that. You're given 15 minutes per problem, but I would try to do that if you can. Try to see the speed at with which you can solve them. Now, if some of it is new or things you haven't seen in a while, and you want to spend more than that amount of time, that's fine, because I do want to see if you're able to do it. But the inequalities, I would think you guys can zip through because we've tested on this and when we've gone over it, and everybody was averaging 2 minutes on it or less. The word problems were 5 minutes. That would come to be expected. So definitely not saying not to struggle through these. Struggle through them. If you need to take more time, take more time. Obviously, if you Google the answers, if you look them up, you're not doing yourself any favors. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. Obviously, I can't stop you. There's no camera, but it's your test. So I would recommend breezing through the ones that you can and taking your time. Try to get everything right. I know that probably goes without saying, but if you ended up getting a very high score, and you know that your pacing was on point, you're averaging about 1 minute, 2 minutes on those simple computation questions, you're going to be in great shape. Just seeing who else is going to join us here. And while we're waiting, also remember to fill out the attendance sheet. They've been asking us as instructors what we want to teach next term, next semester. And there's going to be some interesting things coming up. They're offering CNA classes, HVAC classes, electricians, construction, cybersecurity. So there's going to be a lot. So those seats, they usually, especially since we own you after so many hours, we really want to push those seats for people who are going to be here and participate and um, have a track record of doing that. That's so the attendance, obviously, I know from the live chat who's here, the attendance isn't really mostly for me. It's mostly for Michael and Claudia and my superiors so that they know when those seats open up for another class, you can take them. Like the CNA class, you can take that whether or not you pass the high set GD or test C. Let's see who else is going to join us. So there's about three more people. And let me know in the chat if you have used quizzes before. That way I know how familiar you are so I can do a little precursor of that. Please let me know in the live chat. Have you used quizzes? Quizzziz. Quizzes. Okay, so it looks like everybody. So Elia's used it. Mariana has not. Andre has. Alma has not. What about Coral? Okay, sounds like something you might have used. All right. Okay, so when we're using quizzes, for those of you that haven't used it, you're going to get a series of questions, and they're all both of them are going to be multiple choice, and I like that so that it's self-correcting, and as soon as you're done, you know how you did. So you're going to get several. You're going to get 37 questions, and they're all going to be on different math standards. Okay, so those math standards are going to indicate to me what we need to work on. You will see like a little tracker that's gonna compare you to everybody else and who are you ahead of and things like that. It's almost like a game too. You can get a second shot at a question. You can freeze other people's screens. It does reward you for answering quickly, but again, we don't want to be fast for the sake of being fast. So if you have a word problem, I wouldn't expect you to breeze through that. You should be reading through it. It should take you a few minutes. So if it puts you ahead of somebody else because you're answering faster, that's not necessarily always a good thing because it does reward speed. I don't really care about speed. What I care about is accuracy and that for the right types of questions that we're answering them quickly. Um, so you'll see that once you're done, it'll let you know which questions you answered correctly, which questions you did not answer correctly. So that way you have a chance to review it and it lets me know as well. It does let me know by person who takes it because we're going to review it how long it took you to work out the problem, and that's a big deal. So again, if let's say it took you 10 minutes to get a problem right, hey, good. you got it right. But obviously, we know that's not going to be efficient, right? You only get 90 minutes for the test. That's a ninth of your time uh, used just to answer a problem. So we know speed is going to be somewhat important. So we go through everything. And I'm still reaching out. So what I will go ahead. Okay. Somebody else said they were here. Let's see if we'll have one more person joining us. I will also start it. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna post the link in the live chat. This is very compatible with phones, very compatible with laptops, tablets, so there should be no issues. If you have any problems, let me know. Also, I want to make sure that everybody has the formula sheet with them. Okay. In doing some research, I know there's a couple of things that you do have to know that are formulaic that are not on the sheet. This is your opportunity when you're taking this to see what those things are. Like, oh, because the sheet I'm giving you is not is pretty much exactly what you're going to get. So if it's not on there and you wish it was, this would be a good time to look at what those formulas are, because once you start testing, you can immediately write down whatever formulas you know you're going to need while your mind is fresh, right? So that's not cheating, but this is the best place for us to start those habits. So while this is loading up, does anybody have a problem with the formula sheet? If you don't, please tell me no, you have it, you need to use it. If you do, then let me know yes, and I can email it to you if that's easier. So please let me know. Yes, I don't. Yes, I'm good. No, I need it to be emailed or provided to me some other way. Okay, so Ildi says she would like the sheets and Coral. Okay, so there's the code to log on to the test, and I'm going to be sending so far Ildi and Coral would like the sheet, and it looks like everybody else is fine. Okay. Ethical decline. Good. And okay, so Coral's good. Yes. Yes. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. I miss. Okay, so I'm gonna email her the sheets. Sheets. There's a link. So let's see who we have logged on so far. So far, I'm only seeing one person logged on, and that's Andre. So make sure you click the link and log on. I'm going to send the link out again in the live chat. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So make sure you click on the link. It tells me who's logged on, and the only person I see right now is Andre. The live chat will stay open. Okay, here we go. So I have Andre, I have Ildi, I have Maria, I have Coral. Do not see Sam yet. I don't see Alma. Okay, still don't see Alma. Still don't see Sam. If you're having trouble logging on, let me know. So that link, just click. They're both the same link. They're both the same invitation. So if you click on one, you'll be able to join. There's only one game, and Ilya, have you? You're good. I have you in there. I don't have Sam, and I don't have Alma. For doing that, I'm also going to reach out to everybody who's not with us. See if Sam joined. Okay. So I have Alma, Andre, Ildi, Maria Coral, still waiting on Sam. Okay. So Sam, were you able to join? Because I don't see you on the dashboard. And if anything, I could have you join later. They're both the same. Just click on it. Either one is fine. They're both the same link. Yeah. Just when you click on the link, anything that you press after that's going to get you into the game. Yeah, everybody will start at the same time. We did not start yet. Still waiting on one person. Okay. Yeah, it's not going to happen just yet because I haven't started it yet. I need to start it. So when I click on begin game, you'll see your screen change, and that means you're now starting. Yeah. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'll go ahead and start everybody else. Sam, looks like we're having some technical difficulties with you. I can have you join the game even after it started, but I don't want to keep everybody else waiting. So if you can't get still can't get in, send me a message and I'll send you another link. Everybody else, we're about to get started. Okay, good. Got her in. All right. So looks like somebody else had hopped on. I have two Marias. I don't know if one Maria just got out and then went back in, but I'll talk to everybody while we're waiting for everybody else to finish. So the class average so far, unfortunately, I'm not able to reveal individual grades. It tells you what your grade is. You guys are more than welcome to share it. FRPA laws are not going to allow me to tell the class. But I can say the class average, and the class average actually has gone up since the last time I posted. It's now at 73%, and that is good. Okay. Um, and in the bigger picture, so while everybody else is testing, we'll talk about this. Okay. Also, Manette, are you in twice? Because I see two Marias. Like somebody just joined us. So, but getting back to it, so most of the questions on there represent, or actually every question represents at least one math standard. So every single math standard is for the most part represented in that quiz you guys took. This is going to help us shape instruction. So it literally breaks down each question, who got it wrong, how long they took on the question, and that's helpful. So if a word problem question, people got, let's say almost everybody got it wrong, but the average time taken to answer it was 20 seconds, which has happened, then I know that we're not really thoroughly reading. So it gives me a lot of data that helps us pace everything out. No, it's okay. Hey, if you guys are working, take your time. I'm just talking to the people that finished. Take your time. But so the class average so far is actually doing very well. Um, and the other thing I always tell people about it is that the high set test is all multiple choice, right? Except for the essay portion. So some of the things that you're doing here are going to be harder. The vast majority of it is going to be harder than when you're actually testing. What's going to get people in the most amount of trouble for reading and writing is normally going to be managing their time. That's the biggest thing. The other thing, I know there's people who want to be nurses, there's people that um, want to get a high score so they don't have to take like remedial classes in college and all this other stuff. I would highly recommend taking the test when you know that you're ready to pass. If you go to the college, odds are you may have to take a remedial math or remedial reading, but that's okay. I had to do that when I first left the service and went to college, and it was helpful. It was a good way to get back into the study skills, um, and it gave me a good foundation for those higher level math and reading classes. And that's really the goal here. The goal is to try to feed the other side, right? Because we know that with just a high school equivalency, that's not going to, it's going to make, it's obviously going to improve your career aspirations and your financial aspirations, but it's not going to give you as much bang for your buck as getting another certification or getting a degree. So, something to keep in mind is that if you're doing well on this, you are ready to test. You are very much ready to test. Um, Even if the score wasn't 70 something percent, I would still encourage you to test. Remember, once you pass that section, you don't have to repeat it. And I know there's a lot of doubt and people don't feel comfortable testing, but you can tell yourself whatever when you pass. Oh, I passed only because of luck or whatever. You passed. So um, let's see. We still got more people working. And the class average is still remaining strong. Yeah, you're gonna have to guess. Some of the things on there we just didn't cover, right? Some of the things on there are not standards that we've been talking about so far, and that's why I put it on there because if we are comfortable, then there's no point in talking about it. And if we're not comfortable, then we can talk about it now. But my goal, as far as guessing with the things that we haven't, yes, my goal is just like we were talking about in the live chat, is giving you some of those test taking skills. Just because you don't know how to complete every portion of the problem doesn't necessarily mean you can't get the answer right. As you're working it out, you're going to start to cancel out. You're going to use a process of elimination. And I purposely picked questions that made you notice little inconsistencies, like which way the direction, which inequality they're using, right? How they graphed it. Okay. And also, I would hope that some of the questions you looked at helped you answer other questions, because that's also going to be part of the test. If you're closely reading, they're going to give you the answer to something that you're going to see down the line. And that happens with math as well, right? Maybe there's a problem that tells you how to convert measurements. And if you know that and you took notes on it, when they ask you on another problem how to convert a measurement, you don't need to memorize what it is because you already got it from the original problem. Yes. So the words that we don't know, this is why whenever we're solving a problem, especially in math, and you're walking through it, I don't mind if you have your own definition of it, of what a product is, sum, difference, quotient, inverse operation. What else are we going to talk about a lot? Algebraic expressions, equations. I don't mind if in your head you have your own definition of it, but when you see it, the definition needs to come up immediately, right? So that's why you always hear me using those terms as I teach, so that you start listening to it, right? Because those terms are not going to go away. Slope intercept form, that's not going to go away. Um, Graphing, inequalities, all of those terms, they're staying for the test. So this is your opportunity to get comfortable. Math is like another language. Actually, math is the language of the universe. See if everybody else is still working. Let's look here. I'm trying to figure out because I don't want to wait. Okay. So if either Maria, I have a Maria and I have a Maria Calderon that's working. So if you are two different people, and you'll know that because you're one of the Marias, can you just respond letting me know if you're done that there are two different Marias? Because if it's the same person who logged in twice, I'll kick one of it out so we can review the test once everybody finishes. Okay, so there are two different Marias. Okay, so Mariana, are you logged in twice or are you logged in once? Correct. Mean does mean that, yes. And I didn't put a lot of those because that's a quick mini lesson we can do. Mean, median, and mode and range. That's gonna pretty much be under like arithmetic. Um, so I want to say the most out of all three tests, and I get confused on sometimes the value that each one of them places, but I know the vast majority of it is algebra. So I want to say the most I ever saw for the GED high set task C, one of those I think made the like arithmetic numbers and operations, I think is what they want to call it. They made it like 15% or something like that. So the vast majority of it is going to be algebra. And so the mean, median, mode, we can do a quick hit on. Okay. So I'm going to type that answer because I know we still got people working. Okay, good. Okay. So that's something we'll talk about. That'll definitely be a quick hit. Mean, median, and mode. Okay. So you know what? While we're waiting, I'll send you guys some practice problems. And that's what I was asking about. Looks like Mariana says she's the only one who's logged in. So I guess when there's two parentheses together, yes, they're telling you to multiply if there's two parentheses together. So And those are the things. This is like those little things that now you want to get used to. So when you take the actual test, the formula sheet has value because you know what they mean. So anytime you see them together right next to each other, that means you're multiplying. If they're not next to each other and they're in parentheses, then that just means they want you to understand it as a variable. Nice job, Mariana. Okay, so Maria is another person. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. Hey, I get it. I understand. I'm definitely in the middle of a bunch of things, purchasing a home, picking up my kids from my ex-wife's house and dropping them off, and yeah, trying to do a bunch of things. So I definitely understand being busy. Okay. So I did see a lot of questions about me meeting in mode, and currently we have two people that are finishing. So this would be a quick hit. Once everybody's done, we're going to systematically go through each question, systematically go through the questions that we missed, and then we'll briefly talk about what we did well. But we're going to really focus on the questions that we missed, so that'll shape our math instruction from the rest of today and next week. And then at the end of next week, we would do another placement as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay. So what I'm about, okay. So this is the link for, sorry, some of people texting me. So I just sent out a link for me meeting in mode. So slope, let me see who's testing still. Okay, pretty much got one person. Okay, so slope is when you're looking at rise over run. So it's how much the line is going up or how much the line is going down, the angle. Um, Slope is big. So if you were struggling with slope, we're definitely going to spend some time on that. If you had me for the class that I took over for the instructor that I took over for like halfway through, we covered slope intensely. It is going to be on the test. So, okay, good. Yeah. So we're going to spend a lot of time on slope. Let me see what the data says so far. So if I look at the data, and I know Alma's about to finish, and our accuracy has been still in the 70s, which is good. So let me look at the questions. Well, I'm looking at the questions, sort of by accuracy. So slope and volume looks like, oh, slope and perimeter. I'm sorry. Slope and perimeter so far look like the ones that everybody's had some trouble with. Perimeter, that's going to be under like geometry. Um, that's a big portion, but not going to be as impactful as slope intercept form because a slope intercept form and graphing, that's going to, you're going to get that in algebra, you're going to get like a little bit of it kind of in geometry. Um, so we will hit that immensely. You understand what slope intercept form is. You understand how to put something in slope intercept form. You understand whether it has a positive or negative slope, whether it's undefined, um, all of that. So that's something we'll hit as well. In fact, since the person who is still working is barely beginning and there's 37 questions, I'll also send you an introduction into slope. So if you were comfortable with mean, median, and mode, then we can now move into slope. Okay. So what you're going to see in this Khan Academy link I'm going to send you while we're waiting for this person to finish up, it's going to introduce you to slope intercept form. So Khan Academy is adaptive. Adaptive meaning that as you're working it, if you do well and you want to move on, it'll give you the next lesson at the bottom left. You can continue on because slope intercept form is complicated. You can continue on. It's also adaptive in that if you're bombing everything, right? Like you're not understanding how to put it in a slope intercept form, you don't know what slope means, you don't know what the x-axis is, the y-axis, it'll actually give you videos that you can go back and lessons you can go back to. Excuse me. So whether you're doing well or if you're struggling, it has resources for you. So this is going to be for slope intercept form. And I love those of you who came back to the live chat and you were instantly asking about the things that you didn't know, because that allows me then to send you those additional resources. So I love it. So there's two resources out right now. There's mean, median, and mode. Some of you guys said you struggled with that. And I sent out another mini lesson on slope intercept form. What do you mean? 8, 13, 2, 4, 48. Why 2 instead of 8? I'm not sure what you mean. Ooh, percentage has gone up. Accuracy's gone up. And as I'm looking at it, everybody's score was very close in line. Yeah. That man, everything I'm looking at so far, and I know we're still waiting for one more student to finish. Everything that I'm looking at so far indicates that if you guys were to test now, you would probably pass. There's very, very slight difference in between your scores. Every math, if a lot of people are comfortable with slow, we're definitely going to stay with that. Oh, okay. The median. You do have to rearrange. Let's look at that. Let me look at that question. These questions are created by teachers and I pull them. So if there's a poorly worded question or a question that's incorrect, I'd like to know. So let's look at that. Well, you should only be taking the average of the two middle numbers when there is no middle number. Yeah, and so far from what Andre's showing me, that's what he did. So he rearranged it from lowest to highest. And if we were to look at, yeah, because even taking the average between the two, um, it's not going to give you. It's not going to give you 8. Let me look at that closely. I have that being question number. Let's look. What is the mode? Where is that? Okay. So let's see. So we have 8, 13, 2, 4, and 48. 2, 4, 8, 13, 48. Okay. So here it would be 2, 4, 8. Oh, why am I writing it? Okay. So it was 8, 13, 2, 4, and 48, right? So we're going to put those in order from least to greatest: 2, 4, 8, 13, 48. Okay. So do we have a number that is clearly in the middle? No. So we're going to have to add these two together and get the average, right? So 13 plus 8 is what? Gosh, why am I even asking that? Let me look at the thing. Okay. Then that has to be divided by 2. Right? They're going to have like a decimal. Should be 1.5. Number 6. Oh yeah, it comes up as in different orders for you guys. But that's for me. It's question number 22. So yeah, should be those two numbers in the middle. Does this make sense? So it should actually be. Okay, so I went ahead and I looked at the question, and then I'm just looking now at one more thing. Yeah. So okay. So there's a couple of reasons why it would be 2, and that's a question I can throw out. So when I go back and I look at it, if you were to rearrange it, the median would actually be 1.5. So the closest answer would actually end up being 2. It looks like whoever created the question, yeah, they would want you to estimate about what the median would be as a whole number. So either that's why they selected that answer, or because they never rearranged the questions themselves. So I can make sure that question gets removed. Mean, median, and mode is going to be on there for numbers and operations. It's not going to be the vast majority of the test. So it would be two. Oh, it's not 10 and a half. It'd be one and a half. That'd be the closest we would get. So the answer would be two. But given the fact that they didn't rearrange it, I'm just going to throw that question out. That would actually only bring up our average. Yeah. So with these, I do pull these from the test bank. So I like to pull questions that represent similar scenarios to what you'll see on the test. They are created by other teachers, and if they're not good questions, then I end up removing them. Correct. If you have an even number, you take the two numbers in the middle, you add them, and then you divide. Yeah. That was a poorly worded question, and this is why I like it when we do these after action reviews, because after everyone's done, we can look at these questions and then I can throw them out. Because what I like to do is the next class, I want to give them this exact same quiz so that those of you who pass from this, I can then use this information to look at how likely they are to pass. I give you some additional problems. Yeah, 48 is just one number. Yes. Okay. So I sent out a link for additional problems on mean, median, and mode. And let's see. Let's look at how long we have to wait until we finish this. Yeah. So I don't think everyone, I think we still have one person testing. If you want some more practice on mean, median, and mode, there you go. So try that. That's going to be some additional problems. It's still going. All right. So we still have, okay. I think I might have to get rid of Maria Calderon. Okay. We're going to move on because I'm not sure exactly. So one Maria finished, the other Maria did not finish. Okay. We're going to move on from that. So that question is worded poorly. So we're talking about the 2, 4, 8, 13, 48. Yes. But you're not always going, when you take the test, it's not going to be in order and you're going to take the average of the middle two numbers. So let's go ahead and look at another one. I'm going to move on. I'm not exactly sure who Maria, why we have two Marias, maybe one person logged in twice. So we'll go ahead and finish with that. There's a lot of questions about mean, median, and mode. The class average was 71%. So let's look at some practice problems with mean, median, and mode. Excuse me. We also have some questions on slope intercept form, but let's look at, I want to look at the questions that we missed as well. Mean, median, and mode we can cover in um, fairly quickly. Okay. So let's look at some practice problems. And if you want to use a conference call line, if you want to call in, we can do that. So let's look at calculating the median. So I'm going to put up a range of numbers, and that's what I want you to do. Either find the number in the middle, which is probably not going to be obvious. They're probably going to end up giving us an even set of numbers. You're going to find the number in the middle. If not, you're going to look at those two numbers. You're going to add them together, and then the average is what the median should be. Okay. If they're not in order, they need to be placed in order. All right. So 7, 9, 3, 2, 4, 3, and 1. Find the median. So that question, let's go ahead and throw that out. Let's look at this one because that's one isolated question that I pulled from another teacher. Let's work on a few of these because we need to be comfortable with mean, median, mode, and range. So that question was poorly worded. And the question that it is for you shows up as differently for me. I set it up in the system so that it gives everybody a question in a different order so nobody can like cheat and work together. So for me, it's question number 22. For you, it could be question number 37. So let's look at this 7, 9, 3, 2, 4, 3, 1. Let's find the median for those sets of numbers. And if you'd like to use a conference call, we can. Okay, so we have one person who answered. Still haven't heard from Andre, Mariana, Coral. Who else is on here? I haven't mentioned Alma and Sam. Find the median. All right. And then Andre. Okay. 7932431. Yeah, but let's see if we understand it because we will do problems that have two in the middle. Go ahead and tell me what the median is. Yeah, we're going to do another problem where we are going to have a set. They're going to be double digits and they're going to be an even number. But I want to see how comfortable we are with median. So find the median for this one so that we can move on to something more rigorous. Okay, now I'm going to give me two answers. So is it three or is it four? And I still haven't heard from Andre as to what he believes the answer is. And I also still haven't heard from Coral. Yes. Yeah. We talked about that, Andre. We talked about that. That's why I said the question is going to be thrown out. That's why we're doing this, man. The on the quiz, it was wrong. We had a whole discussion about that. Remember? So we said that it was worded. We said that they're taking it as though the order wasn't put from least to greatest. We talked about how we get those questions from other teachers. So, yes, out of the 37 questions, that one was flawed, and people had questions about the median, and that's why we're doing it here. It's on part of numbers and operations, not the biggest part of the test. It's algebra, but we decided to do this so that we can make sure that we're comfortable with it. But we're going to spend most of our time on slope intercept form. Remember? So it's not even just that the answer is wrong on the quiz. The whole problem was set up poorly. So my apologies for that. Tell me what the median is here. Correct. So what is the median here for this problem? What am I like? Are my messages kind of like coming in delayed? Okay. So I've heard from Ildi. I've heard from Mariana. I've heard from Alma. I have not yet heard from Andre in regards to the answer. And I also haven't heard from Sam or Coral. Okay. So let's go ahead and do a conference call then, because I'm not hearing from everybody. We're doing it now. We're doing practice problems for this right now, but I'm not getting anybody participating. So let's go ahead and do the conference call because I still have like half the class that hasn't said anything. Okay, so your final answer was four? Okay. Now. You are currently the only person in this conference. Okay, good. So please call the. You are currently the only person in this conference. Okay, good. So please call the conference line because again, like I'm put up one problem, and I've been waiting about 10 minutes for people to answer. So let's use a conference call so we can work through this. This is not going to be the vast majority of the test. Thank you. Still haven't heard from Andre. All right. Who just joined us?
Hi, Julie.
All right. Okay. Perfect. Thank you for joining us. And you already solved this. I saw your answer on there. Do you feel a little bit more comfortable when it's a simple set of numbers?
When it's yes, that's the correct answer. Yes.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So still waiting for either Sam to join us, Mariana on the conference call. Andre still hasn't answered it. So he asked for some practice problems, but we're doing practice problems right now. We don't have to wait for next week. All right. Who just joined us? All right. Okay. So we're still waiting for Andre, Alma, and Mariana. And Coral. Okay, Coral, can you join the conference call? Okay. All right. So this is going to be something you're not going to see directly on the test. Their numbers are not going to be single digits, and they're probably not going to be easy for you to identify what's in the middle. I know that it's definitely simple when we have a odd set of numbers, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. First thing we would do is put them in order, right? So it'd be 1. And who just joined us? Who just joined the call?
Maria.
All right. Okay. Mariana. Okay. Okay. Okay, I
Es que me tienen registrada como María Ana. Y es María. Entonces, cuando me conecto a Facebook,
Ya, porque vi dos diferentes nombres, entonces pensaba que eran dos personas.
No, María y Mariana somos la misma.
Okay. Okay. So if we put them in order, this is going to be very simple, right? So we know it's going to be the number in the middle, so the median would be 3. Any questions about that?
No question.
Questions?
No question.
Okay. So let's move on to something that's going to be more in line with the test. My apologies for the poor question on the quiz. Let's go with a larger set of numbers. So let's go with 5, 26, 30, 20, 29, 31, 13, and 12. Go ahead and find the median. Not exactly sure what your question is, Coral. Which one of the 4? What do you mean of the 4? We're looking for the median. Find the median.
The median is 23.
Once everybody responds, we'll talk about it together.
32.
Yeah, median. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the median is 23. Oh.
I don't understand how that happened.
Oh, okay. Who just joined us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Did you get a chance to look at this new problem?
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So my apologies. That was a bad question on the test. So a lot of people had questions about mean, median, and mode. So we're hopping into it. This one is more rigorous than the last question. It's double digits, and it's not in order, and it's an even number.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So we're now looking to find the median.
I don't understand how we got 23.
All right. So let's look at the first thing we do. So what's the first thing we do with these sets of numbers?
Rearrange the numbers from smallest to largest.
Okay. So tell me how to arrange them.
5, 20, 26, 29, 30, 31.
Okay.
No, is it 5?
Oh, okay. Hold on. See, this is what we call a pitfall, right? So go ahead. Say it again, Ildi.
I have 5,
Uh-huh.
20, 30, 31.
Okay. So there's going to be two numbers that we're missing. All right. So right now we're missing 12 and we're missing 13.
I don't have that in this one.
So that's probably why we didn't get 23. So if we, yeah. So if we arrange the numbers, it would be 5, 12, 13, 20, 26, 29, 30, and then 31. Right?
Yeah, I didn't have 12 and 13. I didn't have those on my paper.
Oh, it's okay. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers, right? So we know we're not going to have anything in the middle. We're not going to have an obvious number that's evenly in the middle. So we go to 20 and 26. We add these two together. Then we find the average. Notice how they're always nice, simple numbers, nice whole numbers. That's probably going to be the majority of the math portion. Nice, simple whole numbers.
Yeah, this makes sense now. Now that I have the missing numbers, it makes sense.
All right, perfect. Okay. Do we want to do one more? Or do we want to move on to range or mean?
One question, please.
Yes, sir.
This is a problem on board. It's the median or median. It's 3, right?
And it's what?
And that's the whiteboard.
Yes.
It's the median number is 3, right?
The median number here would be 23.
Because it doesn't matter about this 2 number 3 and the problem. Is okay?
2 number 3s?
In this case, we have 2 number 3. Okay, but the median number is 3, right?
We moved on from that one, Andre.
Yeah. For the
That was
previous
the
one?
previous.
Yeah. For the previous one, it was 3. Correct.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No worries. You're very welcome. What about this one? Anybody still have a question on this one? Do we want to move on to mode? Mode, I don't even know if we should really cover that. Mode is a number that repeats. But I know mean and range can be confusing. So let me know if we want to do a couple more of these or if we feel comfortable moving on to range and mean. Because if we smoke those, then we're going to talk about slope intercept form because that's going to be huge on the test, the vast majority of the questions.
We can move on for me.
Okay.
Okay, so we can move on.
Okay. How's everybody else feel? I think I heard from Ildi. I believe that was Magana that spoke, but I haven't heard from Alma.
Yes. Hi, I'm here. I'm in the college conference.
Okay. So everyone says to move on. All right. So let's look then at mean. Mean, again, under numbers and probably going to be under numbers and operations. You're going to get a couple of these questions. The biggest mistake I think that's made here is people don't add it correctly because what you're doing is you're getting the average, right? So I'm going to put up a set of numbers. If we can do 2 problems without any kind of issues, then I would like to move on. Yeah. So let's look at, data displays. So hold on a second. I'm trying to find a good problem for us to use. Because I found here where they're going to give us some of the same questions with actually through like data displays and graphs. So I like that a lot more than just putting up the random sets of numbers. Okay. So let's see here. Okay, so this one I'm just going to throw in because I think this is going to be the hardest way you're going to see median. Then we're going to move on to mean. Okay, but I like this because it's a word problem and it's showing you a graph. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how to look at the problems, but you're going to solve it. Okay, you will see something like this on the test. So 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86. So all of these dots, when you see this on the test, that's how many times the number appears. If there's no dot over the number, then the number does not appear. So for this, I would like you to find the median.
Can I say it? We're reading.
You know what? Let's give everybody about one more. Let's give everybody one more minute, and then we'll all share together.
You know what? Give me about one more.
Oh, I hate that delay. Oh. Okay. Now, if you want to share, go ahead and share if you're done. I saw some people share it online. Awesome. You want to share it to the conference call? That's great. Ooh, okay. Some people say it's 83. Some people say it's 83 and a half. Let's work it out. So we have 81, 82, 83, 83, 84, 84, 85, 85. So what am I going to do from here? And I would like to hear from either, could be Sam, could be Alma. What am I going to do from here?
I answered 83.
Okay. What am I going to do from here, though? What am I going to do?
We look for the middle number.
What are my middle numbers?
We have to find the. Okay, we have to find the middle one. So we count from 80 to 83.
Okay. So which two numbers are my middle numbers?
The middle number is 83.
Middle number is 83? Well, let's see.
Yes.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it can't be 83. So what am I going to do? There's no number that's clearly in the middle. We have an even set of numbers.
Did you have 2 dots on top of the 82?
Nope, just one. So what am I going to do? I have no number that is clearly in the middle.
So we're going to add up 83 and 84.
What? Why are we adding up 83 and 84? You're exactly right, by the way. But why are we doing that?
Because we're taking the average of the 2 numbers. Those are the 2 middle numbers. Oh, I didn't see that 83 2 times.
Yes. And that's why I like this. So when I was looking through the book, a lot of their examples and their questions were just a list of numbers. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But this is actually a way that they may try to trick you on the test, is by not giving it to you as a list, but giving it to you in these different graphs. So this is a way they can kind of throw you off. I'm confident most of you know how to do this, but I'm looking at when it's presented to you in this way, if you can do it. Just a little bit of a twist. So we take 83, we add it to 84. What does that give us? I was about to solve it.
167.
All right. So we take that 167 divided by 2. How many times can 2 go in there?
0.5.
Oh. So 2 times 8, 16. 0, 7. How many times can 2 go into 7?
That's 83.5.
The answer is 83.5.
Now, if they're going to be multiple choice and they're not going to give us 83.5, but instead they're going to say 84, would that be a possible answer that they're rounding up the?
They could throw that in there, but I don't see. I see the tricks coming more from the graphs and the way the numbers are displayed than saying take the median or take the mean and round it to the nearest tenth. They could do that, but I don't think so, because I feel like, especially for you guys, since you did so well, that would probably make it easier, because as you start working out the problem, you're like, oh, this answer hasn't been rounded. This answer hasn't been rounded. And you could probably get the answer without even completing the problem. So I don't believe that would be the case. I would think they're going to throw you off this way. But they may throw in 1 or 2 that are going to ask you to round to the nearest 10th or something like that, round to the nearest 100th. To be honest with you, you could probably fail most of the numbers and operations and still pass. What you cannot get away with failing is the algebra. Questions about that so far?
No.
All right. So let's move on to mean. Find the mean. And we're going to say this is the height. This is people's heights. I'm going to now switch these up. And I want you to find the mean. Find the mean.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, find the mean for these numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. You're welcome. Okay. So if you believe you found the mean, let me know.
$83.25.
So we have 83.25. Okay.
$83.6.
Okay. So let's go ahead and work this out because looks like we're not all agreeing, right? So who can walk me through? Don't volunteer all at once. What do I need to do to find the median?
You're going to write the numbers in sequence. Leave out the numbers that does not have a dot on top of it.
Okay, so what numbers am I going to write down?
81. Then 83. And then 84. And then 85 two times.
And that's it. We're done. Is that true?
We're not done.
So what do I do from here?
We're going to add it all together, and it's 418.
Well, let's see. So 418. So let's see, that's 10, 14, 17, 18. I don't hear anybody else. We all got to speak up. We all said we struggle with this. And in fact, some of the answers that were provided weren't right. That's why we're doing this. So let's walk through this, because this is really 3 simple steps. So if we're off by a little bit, then we need to go through every single step. So
So we divided 418 with 5.
okay. So we do know this is going to be 418.
Yes.
Okay.
My fault. I don't know about this two numbers 85. Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Yes,
Okay.
I can see the all the board. Okay, two numbers 85. Okay.
Okay. So we take 4. So the mean is 418. Right?
Yes.
Is it?
So we don't divide it to get the mean. We're just adding it together.
Oh, I don't know. You guys tell me. I'm lost.
Divide it.
I need help.
No, we need to divide it by 5.
Divided by what?
But it,
5.
Okay. Why 5?
but
We have 5 set of
question.
numbers.
There we go. Now I'm hearing some talking. What's that, Andre?
The mean number in this question will be 84. Just 84.
The median?
Yes.
Yes.
The mean number.
Yes. The median number would be 84. We're looking for the mean, but yes, the median would be 84.
Okay.
Mhm.
But you will make a average number. Is right. It's 81 plus 83 and plus 1 and divide by the number of the number in the problem.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So you take, so once you add it all together,
Average.
you take,
Okay.
yeah, that's how you find the mean.
Okay.
So what is the mean going to be here? Because some people are saying 83.25. Somebody else said 83.6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're looking, oh, you're very welcome. So we know the median was 84. Now we're looking for the mean.
Okay.
So how am I going to find the mean? Because I'm seeing 83.25, 83 and a half, 83.6. So what am I going to do from here? This is where we're going to make the biggest difference.
Gonna divide.
Walk me through dividing, because we have 3 sets of answers, and only one of them is right.
So we're gonna divide 418 by 5 because we have 5 sets of numbers, and the 5 sets of number total 418. And to get the mean of the number, we need to divide 418 by 5.
Okay. So how would I begin dividing? Because we all had different answers when it came to the decimals. So let's walk through dividing this.
Well,
Where do we start?
41 divided by 5 is 8. So we're gonna put 8 on top. We have 1 left over. We bring the 8 down.
Mm-hmm.
Picture froze.
Okay. So what do we do from here?
So 5 and 8 remainder 1.
Okay. So let's
Bring
see.
down 8.
5 times 3 is 15. And what are we going to have a remainder of?
3.
Now, this is where we had 83.6, 83.25, 83.5. So this is going to be the moment of truth. What are we going to do from here? This is where everybody had a different answer.
We're going to put a 0. We're going to put a 0 there because it's not a total, a full number. So we're going to put a 0 next to the 3. And 30 divided by 5 is 6.
Okay, 0.
83.
So then 5 goes into 30 6 times. So the answer should be 836.
No, we're going to, because we don't have a number on top, we're going to put a decimal point.
There we go. So we're going to put a decimal, right? Because we ran out of our number, right? So now we need to start borrowing. So we're going to go to the tenths place. So we add that decimal. So the answer should be 83 and 6/10.
Yes.
Questions about that? Because I know that we did not all agree on that one.
Nope.
I love that, LD.
question.
Speaking up. Andre is good. What about Alma?
No question.
Mariana? I think she's on.
No question.
No? Good, good, good. Okay. All right. So, all right. I want to jump into slope intercept form if there's no questions. Okay, what about the range? What would the range of this be? Because if we hit that, then let's move on to slope form. Because that's going to be
Can
on the
we-
test.
Just do one range just so everybody knows what it is, because I don't know what it is.
Okay. So range is when you take the highest number, you take the difference between the highest number and the lowest number. That's what range is. So what would the range be for this?
Four.
Range will be the great number less the lowest number. Thank you. Yes, I think it's correct.
Yep. So the range is going to be the highest number subtracted by the lowest number.
Okay, 85 minus 81, which range it will be 4.
Correct. Any questions about that?
Okay.
Questions, questions, questions? I don't hear anybody else. Any questions about that before we move on?
So is it just rearranging the numbers from highest to lowest, or are we doing something with it to get the range?
To get the range, you just take the highest and the lowest number. So you take your lowest number and your highest number, and you find the difference between them. So that would be 85 subtracted by 81, which would give you 4.
Okay, so you subtract. Okay.
And I also noticed on the quiz, the other area that when I look at the questions, because it breaks down questions by accuracy. So the last ones, okay. Inequalities, you guys are pretty comfortable with. The median we threw out. Perimeter. Perimeter was one that I'm noticing that we also struggled with. In fact, only one person got this right. So let's do a quick hit of that. This is something else that we can hit right before we start. Okay, so who can tell me the formula for perimeter? I'm literally going to replicate the question from the test, and I want somebody to tell me the formula for perimeter.
Is it length plus width? Two.
So perimeter is actually when you add up all of the sides together. So it's side plus side plus side plus side. I'm actually going to replicate the question we had. This is going to be more like geometry. Geometry is the second most populous part of the test. It's the second most, the second greatest domain of math that's going to appear on the test. This is a quick hit, so we'll do this very quickly because I think once you see it, it'll make sense. But I want to hit it because I want to spend most of the time in algebra. Okay, so let's look at, now that we understand the formula, let's look at the problem that you guys had. So this was 1 centimeter, 5 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 7 centimeters. And the question was, what is the perimeter? You know we had to add up all the sides. So who could walk me through how to do that? They threw in a little bit of a twist.
The 1 centimeter is actually not 1 centimeter because it's just 7 centimeters. Right?
No. If they're telling you it's 1, it's a real 1.
I came up with 16 on the quiz, but that wasn't correct because
The answer is 18 centimeter.
Plus 3 plus 6 plus 1 plus 5.
Okay. So you know what? Do you want me to draw up a new problem? Because I don't want to end up having to go back to the quiz if it's going to end up be more confusing.
I think the correct answer was 22. I did 16 because I didn't pay attention to the where it doesn't say a number next to the 1 centimeter because there's still 6 centimeters that's not written on the problem.
1, 6. So 5.
Okay.
5.
24?
Yes.
Okay. How'd you get 24? How'd you get 24, Andre?
The answer is 24 too.
Okay. How'd you get 24?
Yeah, they did 24 because 5 means 3, 2, and 7 last 1 is 6. Like this.
Oh, okay. I love it. I love it. But we don't know what this side is worth. We don't know what this side is worth. How do we find those numbers?
Okay, because the right side is not 5 centimeters, it's just 3 centimeters. So in 1 centimeter, the right side is 2.
Okay, so you're saying because this side is 3 and we know this whole side is 5, then this missing side must be what?
2.
This missing side must be 2. This is also going to help us out with volume, but we're going to talk about volume later. So that's 2. Man, but what is this side?
2.
This from here to here is 2?
Right. This is 6.
You guys get 6.
We have 1 centimeter, 1 centimeter,
Yeah.
and less 7 centimeters.
So the whole thing is 7. This little piece is 1. So this other piece must be 6. When we add it all together, we get 24. So remember, does that make sense? The formula for perimeter is adding all sides together. You see how they try to trick you by not giving you all the sides in an obvious way? Those are little tricks you'll see. Do we need to do some practice problems with that, or do we feel comfortable to move on to slope-intercept form?
We can move on.
Okay.
Yes, I agree. We can move on.
Okay. So, okay. So we're going to talk about slope-intercept form. This is going to be huge for the test. Today, we'll just talk about what slope-intercept form is. And then we'll talk about what it looks like on the graph. Next week, we'll hit this harder. We'll actually do some problems, putting things in slope-intercept form, etc. Okay. So this is important. Slope-intercept form. The slope-intercept form, right? The formula, right, is y equals mx plus b. This is anytime we're plotting a line, it needs to be in this order. And if it's not in this order, we have to put it in this order. Questions before I move on?
No question.
No.
Nobody else? No questions? Okay.
No.
All right. So,
No question.
good. What's important to know here, this is your slope. The formula for slope is rise over run. Right? And we always go to the right. So we always rise to the right. If this is negative, then it's going to be fall over run, right? We always go to the right. So we rise or fall to the right. So when we're talking about putting this on a graph, we either go up by going to the right or we go down by going to the right. Before I add on, questions about that?
No.
Okay. This will normally, well, it's always, but normally it should be given to you as an obvious fraction, right? Like 2/5 means we're going to rise 2, we're going to run 5. You'll understand what that means next week. But I just want you to understand that this is rise over run. So let's see who's paying attention. Let's see who's scared and sleeping and not really part of class right now. What if the formula they give you, so we understand all of this, what if they try to throw you for a loop and they tell you it's y equals 5x plus 2? What would be our rise? What would be our run?
5 would be rise. 2 would be run.
Is that true? Alma, do you agree? Andre, do you agree? Sam, do you agree? Mariana, do you agree?
Yeah, I think so.
No, I don't know. I'm not sure yet.
I just write the answer in the quiz. Deduction. In this case, I equal 2. And look at the graphical and search about I is 2 or negative 2, or I write the answers just because that I positions. But I cannot understand about this X.
Okay. All right. So, Ildi, can you teach us? How do you know the rise is 5 and the run is 1?
Because the mx is rise, as it said in the formula. So 5x would be rise up 5 on the graph. Then we would walk 2 to the right. That's plus 2.
Okay. Well, so this is the slope, right? So the slope is 5x. So you are right. We're going to rise 5. How do you know that we're going to run 1?
2.
Well, this is where we cross the x-axis, right? This tells us how much we're going to go up, how much we're going to rise, and how much we're going to run. But there's a little trick. Last time I gave you a fraction. Did I give you a fraction now for you to find rise over run?
You can 5/1.
Because every whole number is always over 1. So we're still going to do rise over run. We're going to rise 5, we're going to run 1. Because anytime you see a whole number, it's always over 1. That's a little trick they might throw at you. If they give you a whole number for your slope, just remember it's always over 1. This is probably the most important part of slope-intercept form is the actual slope, the rise over run. Okay, so what if I did this?
I think for everybody to understand what we're talking about, we would need to draw a graph.
Well, I want to make sure we get this first, because if we don't understand the rise over run, then it's not going to make sense with the graph. So we got to understand what slope is, how to identify it, then we'll move on to the graph. So what's the slope here?
One-third. One-third is the slope.
Divide by 3, but
slope is always the one with the x.
So what would the slope be, Alma or Mariana or Sam? What would the slope be?
So 1/3 is the slope.
Correct. Do you understand why it's a slope?
So I still confusing, like slope is rise over run.
Correct. So here, how much am I rising? How much am I running?
So here 1/3 is mean rising 1 and then running 3. Is that right?
Outstanding. You're exactly right. Okay, I haven't heard from Alma and I haven't heard from Mariana.
I'm still confused about that.
Okay, good. So anytime you don't know, always
That was
speak
my
up.
problem in the test.
Go ahead.
That was my problem in the test, and I still confused.
Okay. So you understand the formula, right?
Yes.
Okay. So usually they're going to try to like switch it up, but this is the way the formula should look. This tells us the slope, which means how much we go up and how much we run. We're going to add more to that. I just want you to at least be able to look at this and understand what the slope is. The slope is rise over run. We're going to add more to that. There's a lot more we're going to add. But do you understand that this means how much we're going to rise and how much we're going to run? The 1/3. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And is that Alma or Mariana that said yes?
Yes. Mariana.
Okay. Alma, are you still with us?
Yes.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
What's that?
Yes.
Okay. And with the 3 minutes, now we're going to talk about how we put this onto a graph. And that'll be what we finish with. We're going to add a lot more to this next week. But this is just the basics. So we put it in slope intercept form. 1/3, y equals 1/3 x plus 5. All right. We're going to put this now on a graph. If you're wondering in real life, whenever we would use this, you can use this for like the trajectory of missiles. You can use this for like a signal to see how far it'll go or like what direction it'll go. Outside of like engineering, I don't see what other purpose you really have for this. But this is going to be a big part of the test. So we're going to draw a graph. Couple of things to keep in mind with the graph. You guys saw this on the practice problem, and you saw this. You probably also see this in Aztec. The vertical line here, this is known as the y-axis. Okay? It's just the name of it. I don't want anybody going, wait a second, where did that come from? It's what it's called, the y-axis. It goes up and down. Questions so far?
No.
You always know it goes up and down because of the tail and the y, la colita. That makes it easier to remember. Goes up and down. Now, when we're going horizontally, this is called the x-axis. Right? This formula helps us plot a line. So, this tells us the x-axis, right? Where we intercept the x-axis, right? Where we cross the x-axis, right? So see how it's a positive 5? We know that positive 5 on the x-axis is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here. Nobody told me that they had a problem with the graph, so I'm not going to go over how this is like positive and positive and negative and negative. I'm not going to go over that because nobody asked a question about it. So the biggest question came from the slope-intercept form. Does everybody understand how these numbers work?
So that number that don't have x, this means the number on the x-axis.
Correct. This in the formula is where it crosses the x-axis. We have to put a dot there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a formula. In real life, for example, we could use, like in the military, if we're going to blow something up, we could use this as the ground, and we can tell a rocket by how much it's going to go up and fall, rise over run. We can tell if we're going to hit a target, and I'll show you how. So if we're here, the formula tells us that in this particular problem, we're going to rise 1. So we're going to go up 1, and we're going to run 3, right? Rise over run. So we're going to go up 1. We're going to run 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to put another point. We always go to the right. We could keep going. This is a small little model, but we're going to create a line. Oop. As you can tell, I'm not a very good artist. We're going to create a line. This line is where all of the rise over run would hit.
Okay. So the run 3 is mean we don't count from the beginning of the x-axis.
Yes, correct. So the run is what we do when the run is where we go after we rise.
So we have to count from the 5 on the x-axis, 3 on the right from the 5.
Correct. So we would go up 1 and then over 3.
Get it. Thank you.
Very welcome. So you see how we form a line here? Now, there's no negative number. If there was a negative number, we would go down. We would fall and run. And they would be going downward. That would be a negative slope. Because this number is positive and it's going up, we have a positive slope. So you see how we can use this technology to see if it would hit something? Like let's say there's a house here and we wanted to blow it up. You see how we can tell if it's going to be in the trajectory of like a missile or like an airplane taking off, right? So that's why we use it in real life. So you got to like look at where you are, what you're going to release into the air, and the trajectory. Is it going to hit what you want it to hit? So it follows this formula. You're going to get a lot of questions on this. They're going to ask you to do a couple of different things. But this is going to be like 30% of the algebra is probably going to be this. Putting it in slope-intercept form, graphing, understanding if a slope is undefined, positive, negative. We're going to talk about all of that next week. But this is like a little snack. I sent you a link with other questions and practice problems and videos all related to this. So if you want to practice that before Monday rolls around, you're going to be in better shape. But at least today would want you to know that this is where we start off on the x-axis, and this is where we know how to rise and how to run the slope. Any questions about that?
No.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. And everybody had a chance to check out the video on slope intercept form?
Yeah.
Yes, I will be.
Okay. I'm going to send a link to it in the live chat again. And if you want me to email it to you, let me know. I can email it to you.
Email.
All right. So I'll send it in the live chat, and I know that Sam would like it to be emailed. So just for anybody else who did not. Okay. So I would encourage you, because this is such a big part of the test, that if you finish a lesson on that bottom left corner of Khan Academy where it asks you to move on, keep doing that, because that's going to help Monday go by not only a lot smoother, but if we smoke this on Monday, then we can move on, which means we'll be able to cover more before the test. Everything I've seen, your tape test scores, the diagnostic test shows me that you guys are pretty much ready to test, at least math-wise. Every indicator, you guys are all 4 and 5s. There's no reason why at the end of this class, what's the end of the class, June 18th, that we're not testing. No reason. Everybody's ready to test. Again, not my opinion, just based off your scores and everything else alone. So that's the goal. It'll be smoother if we can cover more material in the little bit of time that we had together. So if there are no questions, that's all I got.
I have one question, Mr. Mora.
Sure.
About this state test.
Mm-hmm.
This is prepare and just to get a score about our knowledge in this subject. Do you have some tape tests in this class, or we get
Ooh, that's a great question.
and practice just to get to take a high set test, for example?
That's a great question. So here's my understanding. I don't know when the testing centers will be open, because the tape test for us is a big deal and there has to be certain protocols. So I don't see them just letting you do it online. I could be wrong. That might be more of a thing Michael can answer. But we want to have a test proctor. You guys need to be like in a sanitized testing environment. So if we go to phase 2 or phase 3, that could happen. You would go to Sahara West, you would take the test, and that's a sign for us that you're ready to move on. Getting a 4 or a 5 on the tape test, according to our data, indicates that you would take the test and pass. In fact, people that were getting 3s were passing. So that's what we use that for. So this class in particular is to get you ready to take the test by the end of it. The tape test is not the actual high set test C or anything like that. It's just a great indicator to the state that we're doing well, and that for you guys that you'd be ready to take the test and you would most likely pass. I personally use it just to encourage everybody else to pass, because yeah, it looks good for the state and all that other stuff, but at the end of the day, everybody needs to get their high school equivalency, because looking good for the state's not going to get you a job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's okay. But I'm just asking about that because I had already to take 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
Tape test.
Yeah, because
I made this.
yeah, because the state likes to look at it to say, hey, student X named or student Andre, he took the test. How well did he do? Is he improving? So that's why you take it a lot, because it helps us look at it. But if you're in this class, then you did well. You got a 4 or 5. Judging by how you did on the quiz as well, by the end of this class, you should totally take the test.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Mr. Mata, I'm sorry. I need to leave your class.
Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, anybody who has questions, I'll stay on, but I'm good.
Have a great weekend, you guys. See you next week. Okay?
See you next week.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Anybody else? Questions?
Bye.
Questions?
No question.
You said you do have a question?
Will we have class next Monday? Memorial Day.
Oh, that's right. I feel like every day is Saturday. I guess technically not because it is Memorial Day. But if you guys want to do a class, we can.
I won't be here.
Yeah. So I'll send out an email just kind of saying, hey, if you guys want to do a class, we can. I'm sorry. I feel like because everything is online, I forget that we actually have a holiday. So yeah, it's up to you guys. I'll send out a link. You guys can vote whether you want class or not.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Anybody else? Questions?
No question.
All right.
Thank you.
Very welcome. See you guys the very latest Tuesday.
Okay. Have a great weekend.
You too.
You are currently the only person in this conference.